How to set up your EasyWorship7 after installation. Yes, and how to move your scriptural reference from the bottom to the top center or top left, anywhere you want. Right. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to set up your EasyWorship version 7 so you can use it with OBS or vMix. All right. So without further ado, let's dive straight into the tutorial. If this is the first time, kindly hit the subscribe button, like and share this video. Right, so these are EasyWorship right here. If you watch closely, you will see that our EasyWorship scriptural reference is at the bottom right. All right, so we are going to move it to the top center, and if you watch closely, you will see that our scripture is at the right. Is the alignment is at the right, so we are going to position it to the center as well. All right, so doing that, head over to your edit right here, click on your edit, come to option, click on it. Right, come to scripture, click on the scripture. Now on this reference, this scripture font, click on the scripture font, click on it, and this text alignment right here, you can move it from the right to the center by clicking the drop down arrow and selecting the center. Right, so select the center and the scripture will be positioned at the center. All right, so the next step is to move the scriptural reference from the bottom to the top. All right, so this reference location right here, select this drop down arrow and change it from after each slide, change it to before each slide. All right, so change it to before each slide and you will see, you can see is now at the top. Right, so let's reposition it. Let's move it from the right to the center, because me, I always love mine at the middle. All right, okay, so come to your reference font right here and come to text alignment. Click the drop down arrow and you will see center. Right, so click on center and your reference will be moved to the center right here. And if you want to give it a color, like me, I love using yellow. I want it to stand out among the main scripture. All right, so if you want to change the color, this is the color for it. Select the white color and then select your desired color. Me, I love using yellow. Right, so you can see the color has changed. Right, so click outside and then click OK once you are through. So you can see our scripture has been configured successfully in the right position. Right, so if I go to King James, all right, so if I double click on it, you can see everything is now aligned. All right, so how to give it a background, how to give this scripture a background. So this one is just like a transparent background, is a black background. All right, so how to give it a background, come to the theme, come to this theme right here, click on the theme, and EasyWorship has default themes designed for you so you can make use of. All right, so anyone you want to make use of, just come to that one, click on it, right click on that one and select set as default scripture theme. All right, so select it. Once you've selected it, come to your scripture and then you can see it on your previous screen. So if you double click on it, you can see we now have our background. And if you want to change it, go to this theme as well and select any other one, right click on it, set a default scripture theme, come to your scripture, you can see. So you can see we now have our background. All right, so the next step, if you want to send this EasyWorship to OBS or vMix, you will have to turn on the NDI. You have to change the output monitor, all right, to NDI, so it will enable you to send the scripture, all right, to OBS or vMix. If you don't turn on the NDI, there's no way those softwares will recognize EasyWorship. All right, so doing that, come to this edit at the top left corner right here, click the edit, come to option, click the option, and this page will come up. All right, so on this output monitor is on custom position. Right, so click the drop down arrow and select NDI stream. Right, so put it on NDI stream and then hit OK. All right, so you've now given EasyWorship the access into vMix or OBS. All right, and if you want to add more Bible versions, like you can see, I have only 2 Bible versions right here, HCSB and King James Bible version. Right, so if you want to add more Bible version, I already create a tutorial on how to add more Bible version inside EasyWorship7. I will leave the link in the description of this video. Click the link and you watch the tutorial on how you can add more Bible versions to your Easy Worship. Right, so finally, if you want to change the transition of your scripture, you don't want fade, you want it to cut. Like if you check this output right here, you check this output right here, you will see that the fade is giving us fade, fade, fade. And you know, scripture is something urgent. It needs to hit the screen. You need to change it to cut. Alright, so doing that, come to your edit right here. Come to your edit, come to option. Once you click the option, come to transitions, transition. All right, so click on transition. You can, if you want to use any transition you want, if you want to give it any style, you can actually click under this slide transition. You can click this drop down arrow and come to transition. Under this transition as well is on blend. You can click the drop down arrow and you can select any of them. Just play around with them and you will see different transitions it has. But me, I don't give scripture transition. I want it to appear on the screen at once, so I will have to select none, right, to turn the transition off. So if I hit OK now and I try to double click, you can see how it's going. All right. And all right, this just came to my mind. If you install your Easy Worship newly, I believe your Easy Worship will look this way. This way, right? To look this way, I think. So how to configure it, all right? So how to bring in those preview and the output screen, right? So if you take your mouse to this place, this line right here, this line at the top right here, this line, you take it, your mouse there, the arrow will change, all right? So you're going to left click. Once the arrow change, left click and you can drag this up and it will bring your preview screen, all right? So this output screen, if you take your mouse to this line right here, this line right here, you can see the arrow has changed. All right, so if I left click and I start dragging to the left, I can bring this output screen. Okay, so if you want to bring this screen, if you want to make this output screen bigger, if I take my arrow to the line right here, it has changed. I can left click and drag it up. All right, so I have my preview screen and my output screen. All right, so that is that for this tutorial. If you have any other question, you can drop it at the comment section. All right, so if you want to learn how to add lyrics into Easy Worship, I already did the tutorial. The link is also in the description of this video. All right, so if you have any question, drop it at the comment section. And if you find this video helpful, don't forget to like and share, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that it will notify whenever I upload new tutorial. And if you want to join my WhatsApp platform, the link is in the description as well. All right, so don't forget, my name is Victor Eje. This is Gentle Media.